Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily live TV show from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses across the UK. If you've got any questions during this session, please leave them in the live feed in the comments. And if you need any more advice, please join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. There's accountants and business experts on hand 24/7 to help you out. During the live session, we are running a poll, so please do engage with that, and I'll reveal the results at the end of the show. So, in the news recently, in the last 48 hours actually, you may have seen a large accounting firm, P&C, one of the big four, has turned around and told its staff that they can work when they like, how they like. This, for a big firm like P&C, is quite a huge change and adoption of new modern working policies. And I just wanted to talk a bit about that this week, because as smaller employers, we're all able to adapt and uptake new models of employment a lot easier than these bigger companies. So as nice as it is to see the bigger companies catching up with us small employers, it's important that we continue to stay ahead and offer the better working conditions for our employees as small employers to ensure we've got that edge against the bigger employers who can potentially offer a bigger wage. So some of the things that the P&C have just announced is they're going to allow flexible working conditions where people can start and finish when they want to. They don't have to do the 9 till 5 Monday to Friday thing anymore. They're going to allow flexible working, allowing up to 3 days a week working from home and 2 days a week working from the office. And other things that a lot of small employers now look at, especially after COVID, are the flexible working conditions. I don't personally see any point in making someone work 9 till 5 if they're an early bird. You know, if someone's more productive, 5 a.m. till 2 p.m., then why would you force them to work 9 a.m. till 5 a.m. when they're not overly productive after 2 p.m.? It makes sense to let them work while they're productive. Another thing we always ignore when we're recruiting and we're employing people is location. We don't mind where somebody lives. We're a cloud-based accounting firm, and we allow our team to work and live from wherever they want to within the UK. And the same with their hours. We don't worry about them. Oh, have you hit 40 hours this week? Or is that what, based on your contract? It doesn't matter to us as long as the job's done. So if you're incredibly efficient at your job, why should you be penalised for not working 40 hours? We will give you your salary as long as the job's done. We also are piloting a holiday benefit of unlimited holidays. We've done this for a year now, and no one's taken silly amounts of holiday. They've all kept between 28 and 35 days of holiday. The world didn't stop. They didn't all just disappear for a year. So it's been quite an interesting trial to see how we get on with that. But basically the point is, as small employers, we need to be adapting and embracing the new modern working place to attract the best employees we potentially can. If you stick to Monday to Friday, 9 till 5 in the office, you must work 40 hours a week, even if you've not got any work to do. This is how many holidays you get, and that's all your benefits. You're going to start losing out to other companies that offer much better benefits. So benefits might be in the form of holiday allowance, could be in the form of flexible working and location, could be in the form of providing private medical insurance. There was a survey done a couple of years ago that showed 60% of employees would rather a private medical insurance policy be taken out in their name and paid for by a business than having a pay rise, because that private medical insurance had more value to them, and it would cost the employer an absolute fraction of the cost of a pay rise as well. So it was a beneficial thing for both parties. So by encouraging our employers to have a more supportive and relaxed approach towards location, working hours, etc., we're going to be able to recruit best talent across the UK. And that's been fantastic for our teams. It's been fantastic for some of our clients who have also taken this approach. And they're employing people where originally in their local geographical area, there wasn't much talent for that role. Because they've now been able to work on the cloud and they've gone UK-wide with the employment, they're recruiting talent that's 10 times better than anything that's within 20 miles of their office. So it's a really beneficial thing for the employer as well as the employee. But then that also brings up the question of how do we recruit for remote roles? So when I was on a couple of weeks ago, one of the questions we got was how do we recruit for some people across the UK and potentially the world to work with us when we haven't really done this before. So the first thing I want to say is advertising for the role. You don't advertise a role in the newspapers anymore. You don't necessarily even have to put it up on your job websites. The best way to advertise a role for us and our clients in the past year has been through social media. By putting on things like Facebook, LinkedIn, we've seen a huge wave of applications every time. And we've seen applications from across the country, and we've seen some really good talent being recruited because of it. So don't just think traditional when you're advertising. By all means, you can use your online job boards, places like Indeed, Jobs, etc. You can put that the job location is working from home. You can put the job radius of whatever you want. But the social media is certainly the most powerful tool that you can use. The next question we tend to see is how do we then interview for these people? Well, you interview for people over Zoom instead of doing it face to face, and it works really well. The other options are to use Zoom, but you can have a couple of interviews where maybe the first interview is with yourself and a couple of your colleagues that are going to do the main interview. But would you consider doing an interview between the candidate and one of your team members so that they can feedback about how they got on? And it's more of an informal interview, so they can both learn about each other, and the team member can tell the candidate about the team dynamics, what it's really like to work for the company, etc. And that can be really beneficial because you get the candidate's buy-in, and you also get a team member's feedback to help you appraise each candidate's application. So if you want to then do tests of various skill sets, etc., that's also able to be done remotely on the computer. So that would be one of my thoughts. I've seen employers using SurveyMonkey to ask a series of questions and get responses up from remote candidates to help judge personality, how they prioritize tasks, how they work efficiently and stuff like that. So SurveyMonkey is a great tool for that. You could also use things like Google Forms, Microsoft Forms to do the same thing. But ultimately, it means you can carry out a standard interview, if not a more in-depth interview, taking up less of everyone's time by doing it online. And you're recruiting people from across the UK again, which means you're going to be able to get the best talent anywhere in the UK. And then there's also considerations such as pay, etc. So if you're based in London, and people based in London need a higher living wage because it's so expensive to live in the cities. If you're recruiting people remotely across the UK, then they won't need as high a salary to cover the same costs. Their rent will be considerably better, the mortgage will be lower, etc. So you can give them the same salary, but they'll have a much higher quality of life because of it. Or there might be more negotiation on that salary to make it a win-win for both parties. And then once you've recruited, I suppose the main consideration is how you would manage those team members. We very much do it the same way we always manage team members. I check in with my team, with my heads of departments on a daily basis, whether that's a phone call or a meeting through Microsoft Teams, or a Zoom meeting with a bigger department. We are constantly chatting via Microsoft Teams Messenger app, a bit like WhatsApp. So communicating with your team using all these fantastic tools like WhatsApp, Microsoft Teams, etc. That makes communicating with your team really easy. And then you can use job prioritization tools and CRMs to help you manage workloads and see who's got what on and see each other's diaries. So actually, you've got more tools to manage people remotely today than you have ever had to manage people within your office. So we certainly see a lot of benefits of having remote work, and we will be taking the approach when it comes to the post-COVID period, as everyone calls it, of there's offices available in these locations. If you want to work from the office, great. If you want to attend the office for meetings, great. If not, happy to use Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever we're going to use and communicate that way. It's just finding something that works for each employer and each employee, because everyone works in different ways. So I hope that's informative. I'm going to start going through some of the questions we've had come in already. So we've had a message from Vicky on Facebook Messenger. You're working with many business owners. Do you know how they are thinking about working from home options post-COVID? Before COVID, I wasn't keen on staff working from home, but our productivity has been great. I'm currently thinking about how I can arrange the best situation for my company and employees post-COVID. I want to provide a flexible option, but don't pay the same amount for office space as before. Okay, Vicky, so you've got a few options here. If your team are productive, then that's great, that are productive working from home. I would have a chat with each individual team member before you make any firm plans. Work out if that team member is honestly happy working from home, or if they prefer going to the office, or if they prefer a combination of both. Once you've spoken to each team member, you then know kind of how big an office space you're going to need. And it will be then worth having a look around. So say you've got 10 staff members, 4 say, I want to work in the office, I prefer the office, it's more productive. Another 4 say, well, I want to work in the office, but I only want to do a couple of days a week in the office, so that's the time I want to work from home. And 2 say, we're just happy working from home. Instead of having an office for 10 people, you might get away with an office for 6 people. So you could have a look around for a smaller office, which will lead to smaller rent, smaller rates, smaller bills, and just have a couple of hot desks for those that want to work from home and want to work from the office on a combined role. And that will hopefully get some savings on your rent and bills like that. Also, don't be afraid to haggle with landlords. There's a lot of companies, public and private, that are reducing their office spaces considerably because of COVID. So, for example, my brother works for a local council. They are shutting down all their office spaces apart from one office building, and everyone's being encouraged to work from home and have a hot desk if necessary in an office. Well, the market for offices is going to be flooded with spare space soon because of these approaches. So landlords would prefer your office filled, their space filled and rented out at a lower rate of rent than they would have it empty completely. So when you're looking around for new office space, be prepared to haggle, compare and contrast the pricing that everyone's offering to make sure you're getting the best price and saving the money you need to save. I hope that helps. Our next question is Pratap from Twitter DM. Morning, Johann. Specialists versus generalists. What kind of first hires are needed when you're starting to expand your startup? That is a good question. It depends on your industry and your business and your needs. So personally, my first hire was a generalist. It was an admin person who has since become a specialist in a field that she really enjoyed working in. My hires after that were specialists because I wanted to take the specialists' work out of my day so I could become more generalist. So it's about sitting down and working out what your business needs to grow. Do you need a general admin person, or do you need a specialist IT person that can do the work? So it's very much down to your own circumstances and working out what your business needs. I don't think there's a right way. There's certainly not a wrong way. I, for example, recruited accountants and bookkeepers that were much better at accounting and bookkeeping than I am. My real talent is leading and managing people. I can do accounting, I can do bookkeeping. It's not something I thrive off. So some of my first recruitments was making sure I had a stronger team at delivering the service that I wanted our company to deliver. So I hope that helps. Ignis from Twitter DM. Morning, Johann. How do you know if an outsourced managed payroll is right choice for my organization? What are the benefits of outsourcing a fully managed payroll service? Okay, so the benefits of outsourcing a fully managed payroll service. It very much depends on what your pain points are, really. Do you enjoy doing payroll? Are you struggling to keep up with all the new rules? Are you struggling to meet the requirements of GDPR, etc.? These are all the benefits of using a managed payroll system. So, for example, our clients who have our managed payroll software, they will have GDPR-approved software. The payroll is completed by experts within the field that understand the pensions, maternity, holiday, sick, hourly rates. For example, as of today, hourly rates go up for national minimum wage, national living wage, etc. Our clients don't need to worry about that because our team's already had a conversation with each employer about that, the impact it's going to have on their wage bill, and who's impacted by what brackets. And then our software and our team tell our clients when someone's become a year older and is entitled to a different pay bracket. So that's really the benefit of having it done by a managed outsourced provider. It is having those experts in the field that you're perhaps not an expert in, and they keep up to date with all the rules and changes, so you don't have to. You just have to be able to approve the payroll and send the payments each month or each week, however often you do payroll. And then if they're doing that, how much time are you saving? What could you better be doing with that time? Could you be going out and selling more? Could you be spending more time helping your clients or your customers? So work out what that time to you means that you're saving by not having to keep up to date with all the rules, entering all the data, etc., that they're already doing. So I hope that helps. Our next question is from Herbert on Facebook Messenger. Hi, Johann. I'm not looking to hire any full-time employees right now, and so looking at freelancers. Any advice on where I can source these freelancers? Also, what are the legalities involved in using a freelancer? Okay, Herbert, one of the things you'll need to have a look at is the IR35 rules. It may well be that you're not going to be impacted by that because you're a small business, but it's certainly worth having a look at and having a chat with your accountant about the IR35. IR35 doesn't impact on any of our clients, and my payroll team have been dealing with IR35. So I'm not completely up to speed with all the detail of it, so I'm not going to try and advise you on that. So go and speak to your accountant, who will probably know, if they're not up to speed with it, someone within their team will be. Sourcing freelancers. There are websites out there that will help you find freelancers. How well they look after freelancers and how much of the money you pay them to pay the freelancer goes to the freelancers, depending on the website. The quality of the freelancers can be quite difficult to gauge from these websites as well. So what I've seen most people do, and very successfully, is they go and post onto business networking groups on Facebook, for example, or they post in LinkedIn that they're looking for a freelancer in this field, and they'd appreciate anyone reaching out to them. And by doing that, because there's no middleman of a website or anything, you're guaranteed to get a better quality relationship for both you and that freelancer, because you're not paying fees to anyone for providing that introduction. So I'd go to LinkedIn, Facebook groups, and find a freelancer that way. And I don't think IR35 is going to impact on you. I'm assuming you're quite a small business, but it's certainly worth having a look at it. Also, just keep an eye on the legality side of things of freelancers. Deliveroo and Uber, etc. They've recently been through court to determine whether they're freelancers, because all their drivers are self-employed, should be entitled to holiday pay, etc. And it was ruled that they should. We don't know what consequences that's going to have yet for all businesses that use freelancers and their rights in the business. But it's a changing economy. It's a changing world out there. The gig economy is changing, and we're seeing that in the form of and people's opinions of people that recruit gig workers and self-employed workers is also changing. We saw that in the last 24 hours. Deliveroo went to put their stocks on the share market, and loads of big investment funds have said they're not going to buy those shares because they don't agree with the way they treat their gig economy workers, the self-employed workers, which meant the value is considerably lower than they were hoping for. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with recruiting freelancers. We've had freelancers in the past, we still do in places. Lots of our clients have freelancers, and it's a really good working relationship because it's the best solution for both the freelancer and the employer or the business owner. When you're using freelancers to take advantage of them because you think you're going to get away with lower wages, you don't have to pay out holiday and stuff like that, that's when the relationship can become toxic. And it's really important to just keep up to date with all the rules so that you know freelancers is the right thing to do. So I hope that helps. Right. So we've got a question from Miriam on Instagram DM. Hello, can you share some tips on how to go about assessing a culture fit when hiring your first employees? How do you build a good culture when everyone is working remotely? Okay, so culture, let's go with culture, building culture when you're working remotely. I have got employees who I've never met face to face. They are within the UK and they're fantastic at their job, but we have become a close working team. So it's easily possible. And I suppose there's a lot to be learned out of this modern online dating. So things like Tinder and stuff like that. People are starting their relationships digitally, and those relationships build and develop from there. It's the same with employees. So over time, you get to know people. So encourage getting to know each other. What are their family circumstances? Pay attention to that and just say, how's so-and-so getting on at school or whatever the scenario is. Basically, we're taking the getting to know people approach that we have as managers and leaders of businesses on a face-to-face basis, and just asking the same courteous questions and how's your weekend and you got any plans for the holiday you've got booked. Simple things like that. We're just asking them on WhatsApp or over a Zoom meeting. I touch base with lots of my team every morning with a phone call. I normally drop them a message at the end of the day saying, how's your day? Any issues? Do you need my help with anything? So just take that usual day-to-day approach that you've got and just bring it back, just move it online. It is as simple as that. We don't really need to overthink this. And you know what? The generation coming into the workplace now, they're used to chatting through Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and stuff. They're used to video calls, and that's how they've built and developed their personal relationships with their friends and family over the last few years anyway. So to do it within the workplace, that's no more different for them, and that's perfectly okay for them. So I hope that helps with developing the culture in the workplace. Assessing their cultural fit can be really difficult online, don't get me wrong. This is why I think having something like SurveyMonkey, with questions like on a scale of how long do you, how well do you know, do you agree with this statement? So you give them a statement and they go agree negatively or very strongly. Things like that will help you grade that. So I hope that helps. One last question, because we are running out of time already. These things do go quickly. Roderick from Facebook Messenger. Johann, I'm a small manufacturing company and we're looking to onboard an ERP solution. While we do not have the necessary skills in-house, we are in a dilemma if we should hire a team and manage it internally or outsource the operations. Any advice on how to make the decision? It's a really tricky one without knowing the financial scenarios and the long-term plans. Once the ERP solution is in place, are you going to need team members to continue maintaining and updating it and using it? Or are you, once it's in place and you can move on? If it's a short-term thing, potentially get contractors in to do it. If it's a long-term thing, then you might be better off having a team member. But without having a lot more detail behind why you need it, what you're going to do with it, etc., it's hard to say for me to say, I'm afraid. But I hope that helps a bit. Right. So we asked you a poll. The poll results were, have you ever sacrificed anything for your employees? 50% said yes, 50% said no. And this is it's an interesting question because what I class as a sacrifice and what you class as a sacrifice can be two very different things. You covering someone so they can go to the doctor's appointment, is that a sacrifice or is that an expectation of being a boss? And that's what I mean by a different approach. So you might think that's a sacrifice. I might think that's just me doing my job. But what's important is that we always look after our employees as best we can, and we do what we can to support them in both their work lives, but also in their personal lives. So if they need to go and do a school run, we let them go. So I hope that helps. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to get in contact with me, you can do. You can message me on LinkedIn at Johann Goree. On the 6th of April, Ask the Expert celebrates a 1-year anniversary. To highlight the milestone, Intuit QuickBooks will be running a competition where people can win an Oculus Quest 2 headset. All you need to do to take part is to tune in to the live show and ask a question in the live feed on Facebook or YouTube. Coming up on Ask the Expert on Tuesday, because we're now going into bank holidays, is Tina Warner-Core, and the co-founder and managing director of Warner's Distillery. Tune in to learn all about how to scale a plant-focused business. Don't forget to join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB group on Facebook. There's accountants and business experts on there 24/7 to help answer your questions. I've been Johann Goree. Hope you all have a wonderful Easter, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much.